ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Hari Om. Salutations to all. So, in this Vivek Chudamani, we have seen the negation of the four koshas. Right now, we are doing the negation of the Vijnanamaya kosha. And in that context, the student has asked this question to the master that if ignorance is beginningless, then the bondage is endless. So please tell me how to end this bondage. So then the master gave the answer that this aspect, that what is beginningless is endless, is applicable to that which is real. And we know that the definition of real is that which remains in all the three periods of time. But that which is an illusion, it appears to be beginningless, but upon gaining knowledge, it will end. And examples were also given of the snake and the rope, and then the pot. The last one that we saw was verse 199. Actually, three examples are given by the master to prove the point. First example is of the rope and the snake. Second example given here is of the dream. Prabodhe swapnavar sarvam sahamulam vinashyati. So when did the dream begin? While one is in the dream, one will not be able to say the time, because it is beginningless, one has to say, because time was not there when the dream began. And the third example given is of the prag abhava, which is of the pot. So the potential to create the pot is there in the mud from beginningless time. But that beginningless potential comes to an end as though when the pot actually manifests. So anadi api idam no nityam pragabhava iva sputam. So now, having given these examples, we move forward, verse 200. Anader api vidvamsaha pragabhavasya vikshitaha yadbuddhyupadhi sambandhat परिकल्पितम् आत्मनि जीवत्वं न ततोऽन्यत्तु स्वरूपेण विलक्षणः सम्बन्धस्त्वात्मनो बुद्ध्या मिथ्या ज्ञानः पुरस्सरः. So he says here, anaderapi, even though it is beginningless, vidvamsaha pragabhavasya vikshitaha. The end of pragabhava is seen. How? When the pot is manifested, now that potential is ended in that much mud. The potential to create a pot or a pitcher or a cup or a saucer, whatever it is, that was there. But when it actually is manifested, that potential is over. Meaning it was having a beginningless. The potential was there from what time, if you ask? It was there from beginningless time, from the time the mud got created, if we want to say. And then that potential comes to an end when it actually manifests. So in the same way, he says, yad buddhyupadhi sambandhat parikalpitam atmani. identified with the buddhi, Atman appears to have become bound. Because of the ignorance of the beginningless nature of the Atman, of the pure nature of consciousness, it appears as though the bondage is also endless. That I am this jiva, now I am bound. From when did this bondage start? So one says beginningless. So one feels that okay, bondage is beginningless, so then it will be endless. But no. As long as it is identified with the buddhi, this appears to be like that. So yad buddhi upadhi sambandhat. Because remember, ignorance is also there in the buddhi, knowledge also comes in the buddhi. Ignorance is removed by this knowledge. But the self is beginningless and endless. What ended upon gaining the knowledge was ignorance. Ignorance is beginningless, but ignorance ended when the knowledge comes in the buddhi. Not knowing this is what makes the confusion happen. So buddhi is having the ignorance. I don't know who am I, and I falsely think I am this jiva. That is bondage. Now this false notion that I am a jiva. Jivatvam na tato anyattu swarupena vilakshana. There is no separate jiva. Is Atman only identified with the buddhi is appearing to us as the jiva. And when we say from when did this jiva bhav come in me? When did the jiva bhav come? They say it is from beginningless time, because only after time, only after buddhi comes the time. So that's a logical difficulty, that we are not able to find out when this jiva bhav began. But just because when this jiva bhav began I don't know, does not mean I cannot end the bondage. And I will continue to be a jiva eternally, because it is not real. It is a false identification or a superimposition that is causing the jiva bhav. So the practical implication of this is what? See, this is not some intellectual gymnastics that okay, beginningless is endless in the context of the real, but in the context of the illusion, that which is beginningless also has an end. The practical implication of this is what? The implication is that when we think of ourselves as the jiva, we keep on trying to find out the cause. Like Gurudev always said that intellect, the causation hunting is the preoccupation of the intellect. In science also, any disease is treated by inquiring into the cause, eliminating the root cause, then the symptoms also get eliminated, the person is free from the disease. So the intellect always wants to find the cause. So if we say the cause of this present birth is a previous birth, so the intellect says what is the cause of the previous birth? What is the cause of that earlier birth? So we say the cause of all the earlier births is karma. So what is the cause of this karma? So we say the cause of karma is because I feel incomplete, so then I identify and I want to do something to become complete. Identifying with the BMI, I feel incomplete. To feel complete, then I will eat something, go somewhere, do something. So that karma happens because of alpatva, sense of limitation, which is called the sense of emptiness. So now this emptiness came when I identify with that which is incomplete. In the deep sleep, there is no sense of incompleteness. So this identification with the body, mind, intellect is the cause. So now one says, and that is called jiva bhav. So then one asks, from when did this jiva bhav begin? So mind goes on inquiring, mind and intellect go inquiring into the cause. Suppose we say, okay, first birth. From the first birth, first human birth onwards, we have self-awareness and identified with this BMI, we feel incomplete. The jiva bhav and the rest of the cycle starts. Then the mind will ask, what is the cause of that first birth? So this causation hunting, actually this causation hunting will lead us to nowhere. We may do that to understand that bondage is beginningless. but it doesn't mean it does not end. Another practical implication is, if I am suffering right now, person who is suffering, will that person go on inquiring intellectually into what is the cause? Or the person will say that, yes, understood, the cause is ignorance. Now I need to end this suffering by gaining knowledge. Gautam Buddha used to give a nice example. If you are walking on the road and a thorn pricks you, what will you do? Because the thorn is pricking, there is pain, then I will pull that thorn out as soon as I can. If I'm not able to pull it out, I'll ask somebody, please help and pull that thorn out. At that time, one is not going to ask what is the nature of this thorn, from where did this fall here, who put this here, how did it, I did not notice it, how did it get into my leg? No questions. Because there is sorrow, there is pain, there is suffering, first thing to do is pull it out. In the same way, the seeker who is a mumukshu, see, the question also that he has asked is, please tell me how to get out of this. He felt bound. So the question that he has asked also is not an intellectual question. The question that he has asked is, please tell me, this bondage is beginningless, how will I become free? If ignorance is beginningless, what is beginningless is endless, then how will I become free? So that is the seeker's question. Because he is feeling the sorrow. If you remember the question that he asked to the master, when he surrendered, before he asked the question, he said that Dodhoyamanam duradrishtavataihi, I am tossed about in this storm of this samsara. Sharanya manya jadaham na jane. I don't know any other refuge. Oh Master, I have come to you. Bhitam prapannam paripahi mrityo. I am scared. Please save me from this realm of change. So intensity of the seeking is high in the seeker, and now when the seeker is listening to the master, this question has come. So see the question also what he asked, na nivarteta tan moksha katham me shri guru vada, that if this beginningless jiva bhav is going to be endless, then how will I become free? So the focus is not on the intellectual inquiry, focus is on getting free. And that's the practical implication of this verse, that bondage may be beginningless, but it can end. So the effort is to understand only the nature of bondage, that ignorance is the root cause of this bondage. And from when did it begin? Because it is there from beginningless time. So instead of putting efforts to find out which was my first birth, what was the cause of this, what was the cause of that, all those are the effects of the ignorance. That is the root cause. Now the effort has to be put for what? End this samulam cha vinashyati. If you saw the earlier verse, the example which was given of the dream, prabodhe swapnavar sarvam sahamulam vinashyati. When the person wakes up from the dream, the entire dream world and dream character, everything ends, because the person gets the knowledge that, Arey, I am the waker. Falsely, I thought myself to be the dreamer, and then the whole dream world was real to me. So the effort is always this, that to feel that, okay, right now this is the bondage, I want to get out of this. Hence he says here that jivatvam na tato anyatu swarupena vilakshanaha. This self is not at all different. But just because of this identification with the BMI, sambandhastu atmano buddhya, because of the sambandha of the atma with the buddhi, mithya jnana purasaraha. This is false knowledge. Mithya jnana. What is this false knowledge? False knowledge means this false identification that I am this jiva, I have become this jiva. Like the dreamer is thinking that I have become that dream character. Now he's not become that dream character. So two important points of this question when he's asked and the answer are, one is that the nature of ignorance is illusory. that it is a superimposition. One is actually not become that. The waker has not become the dreamer. Waker is superimposing the dreamer on himself and then thinking that this is real. That is called mithya jnana, false identification. So how will that go? Only by true knowledge. So mithya jnana will go by samyak jnana, right knowledge. So any illusion, any superimposition can go only by the proper knowledge of the substratum. So what type of knowledge? That also is necessary to be understood. It is the ignorance of the substratum that is causing the superimposition to appear real. So the knowledge of the substratum has to be gained. Ignorance of the rope is making the snake appear real, and consequently all the fear of the snake bite is appearing real. So when one says that that is an illusion, the fear is an illusion, the snake itself is an illusion, then what is real? So one starts thinking what is real, that rope alone is real. So the knowledge of the substratum helps us to connect back to the source, the substratum, and the superimposition ends. A seasoned traveler in the desert can teach a novice that, okay, that is not water, that's a mirage. And when the novice sees that that is sand, that is not water, it's just a mirage, it's appearing real. The knowledge of the sand makes that person understand the illusoriness and will not get carried away, will not run behind it. In the same way, what is that ignorance in us? Ignorance of the self. So this ignorance of the self is making the self appear as the jiva because of the buddhi. So this buddhi which doesn't know the self, which is superimposing jivatva on the self, that has to gain the knowledge and jiva bhav has to get removed. And hence, when we understand this, mithya jnana purasaraha is the cause. The ignorance, the false superimposition, false knowledge, that is the cause of this suffering. So now what is the solution? Next verse, he says here, Vinivrittir bhavet tasya samyak jnanena nanyatha brahmatmaikatva vijnanam samyak jnanam shruter matam. Vinivrittir bhavet tasya. This ignorance will be removed, or one will be freed from this ignorance. How? Samyak jnanena nanyatha. The superimposition one will be freed from by samyak jnana. Only by right knowledge. Na anyatha. Nor by any other means. In the beginning verses, Shankaracharya ji had said, Na snanena, na danena, pranayama shatena va. Neither by any amount of rituals, neither by any amount of dan, nor by any amount of pranayam, by no amount of karma yoga will one realize this self. Those are preparatory means, no doubt. But the direct means is only clear knowledge, right knowledge. And this right knowledge is not only intellectual knowledge. It is the knowledge which is intuitive knowledge. Samyak jnana is that. Brahmatmaikatva vijnanam. See, the word uses vijnanam. So jnanam is intellectual information. That intellectual knowledge through Shravan and Manan when we get and we reflect on it, remove all the doubts, that knowledge becomes very clear. But that knowledge, jnanam, will become vijnanam through nididhyasana, through steady contemplation. That when one sits quietly, withdraws the attention of the mind from the outside world, from the body, from the prana, from the mind, from the intellect, and one comes to realize I am pure consciousness as the Sakshi. Sachidananda Swarup Atma is my nature. That intuitive knowledge is called Vijnanam or Samyak Jnanam. So Brahmatmaikatva, the self in me is the self in all. That is, self in all is called Brahman. Self in me is called Atma. So Brahmatmaikatva Vijnanam, the knowledge that the knower in me, the self in me, the illuminer in me is one infinite consciousness. Right now I feel I am this limited jiva, identified with the body, mind, intellect. That limited jiva drops the jiva bhav to realize that my nature is one infinite consciousness. There is not one small self inside me somewhere. When we say within me, it is only meaning in the core of my personality as the illuminer of BMI. It is not inside somewhere in the body or in the brain somewhere. How can that which is infinite be limited by something inside this finite equipment? So where is the snake? Sorry, where is the rope? The rope is not inside the snake somewhere. The rope is all everywhere, all pervasive. In the snake, the whole snake is actually seen on the rope. So if we say, where is the waker? Waker is not inside the heart of the dreamer, one dream character. No. Waker alone has become all this. The entire dream world is the waker. So that is called Samyak Jnana. From finitude, one comes to infinitude. In the sense that one is not becoming infinite, one is discovering that I was all the time that pure consciousness. Falsely I identified with one body, mind, intellect, and as though I became limited. Hence, Samyak Jnana Shruter Matam. Samyak Jnanam Shruter Matam. This knowledge is called Samyak Jnana. Samyak means very well. Jnana means knowledge. Knowledge which is so clear and well established in the intellect that there is no more any doubt, even experientially. In the Shravan stage, we listen, but we may have doubts. In the Manan stage, we remove the doubts, but the experience still is that I am Jiva. Intellectually, I know I am Brahman, but the experience still is I am Jiva. Because the purity of mind may not be enough, and steady contemplation is not done. But when both these are done, mind has become sufficiently pure by Karma Yoga and Upasana. And then one has heard the teacher, one is reflected upon it, and one sits to contemplate, withdrawing the whole attention. Then this knowledge that arises, intuitive knowledge, that removes this false identification. So the bondage which was beginningless ends. Like the earlier example, the dream which appears beginningless ends when the knowledge rises. That I am the waker, the whole dream world ends. So in the same way here. So the effort that the seeker has to put is to gain this Samyak Jnana. The inquiry was to only understand that, okay, is there a way out? Because suddenly the disciple thought beginningless equal to endless, so now I'm stuck. But the teacher assures that no, that is not. It is possible that what is beginningless also will end. Now, that thought is continued ahead in the few more verses. Tadatman atmano samyak vivekenaiva siddhyati tato viveka kartavyah pratyagatma sadatmanoho. So this Samyak Jnana, how will it arise? Samyak Jnana will arise through proper vivek. Tadatma anatmanoho. So this Atma and Anatma, vivekenaiva siddhyati samyak. The knowledge of pure consciousness rises only when we do this vivek. Atma, Anatma, vivek has to be done properly. Hence, tato viveka kartavya. So one should strive to discriminate. Pratyagatma sadatmanoho. The self within and the self everywhere. Pratyag means within. And sadatmanaha means the self everywhere. Meaning the self in me is a self everywhere. So Atma is equal to Brahman. How will I know this? Only when I do the Vivek. So Vivek, Vairagya, Shatka, Sampatti, Mumukshutvam. 4 qualifications. Then Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana. This is the path which a pure mind has to apply. So beginning with Viveka, ending with Nididhyasan is what is indicated here. That do the Vivek. Constantly keep thinking that this is only an equipment, I am not this. That Vivek has to be done. I am separate. Vivek literally means to separate. When two things have got mixed up, we are separating. So right now, finite body, mind and intellect, enlivened by consciousness. Consciousness which is infinite is appearing as finite jiva because of this identification. So now I have to separate. I am that infinite consciousness. This is the BMI which is inert. Inert BMI is appearing sentient because of infinite consciousness. I am not the BMI. I am that infinite consciousness. Samyak Viveka Kartavya. And this Samyak Jnana alone is the solution for Mithya Jnana. So Mithya Jnana cannot go. This nature of this bondage, that's why one has to understand very, very clearly. Mithya Jnana or illusion can never go in any other way except through proper knowledge. No amount of action will make that go. No amount of ritualism, no amount of good service will make that go. Because it is born out of wrong perception. It is born out of giving reality to something which is not existing. So that can go only by gaining the right perception. Which is why in Vedanta, one has finished all those earlier stages and then one has come, because everything else is a preparation for this Samyak Jnana. This expression Samyak Jnana, actually, Shankaracharya ji loves this expression Samyak Jnana. It is as though his pet expression. So even in the Gita commentary, etc., in many places he has written Samyak Jnana. When he says someplace, when earlier also it said, Jnane naivatu kaivalyam. Only through knowledge one attains liberation. Why? Because the problem is not real. Problem is false perception. So the social service that one does, upasana that one does, rituals that one does, charity that one does, yatra, vrata, puja, so many of these which one does, they are a preparation to see clearly. And this seeing clearly happens by Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. So Samyak Jnana rises through that. And when that Samyak Jnana rises, then the Mithya Jnana Purasara, which was said earlier, that gets removed. Now one more example is given for explaining that how this Samyak Jnana is the important aspect and the solution. Jalam pankavadatyam panka paye jalam sfutam yatha bhati tathatmapi dosha bhave sfuta prabha. Jalam pankavat, the water which is muddy, extremely muddy, atyantam, panka paye jalam sfutam. When that mud is removed, panka is mud, apaye removed. Panka paye jalam sfutam, that water is crystal clear. Yatha bhati, how that water appears so clean, transparent. Tatha atma api, in the same way atma also, dosha bhave sfuta prabha. When this dosha goes away, what is the dosha? This delusion, ajnana dosha. That ajnana dosha, when it goes away, tathatmapi dosha bhave sfuta prabha. This shines pure, shines as a pure consciousness, sfuta prabha. Clearly, shines clearly. So simple example, water by itself is pure. When we say water has become impure, anything other than water, when it gets into it, it becomes impure. So dirt, dust, mud, sand, stone, whatever it is. So that makes the water appear as impure. But when those impurities are removed, water again comes back to its own nature as purity. Now remember, this example also has a limitation that actually the water becomes impure in this. Because the mud is put inside, the water becomes impure. But that's a limitation of example. This is only to convey to us a specific point that when the dosha is removed, the water comes back to purity. The limitation of this is that water has actually become impure. But in this case of bondage, it is not that the bondage and ignorance, etc., has made the Atma impure and now I have to make the Atma pure by my sadhana. No, Atma has never become impure. The snake does not affect the rope even a bit. It is not that when the snake vision goes away, there is still some poison left in the rope which we have to remove. Nothing. The snake cannot touch the rope also. Because the snake is only superimposition. It doesn't exist really. Impurity is only because of false identification. Atma is illumining all these things. Atma is not even touched by it. So the effort is not that I have become a impure Atma and now I have to become a pure Atma. No. Jiva Bhav makes us identify with the body, mind, intellect, and identified with them, we think the impurities of BMI are my impurities. But that is the equipment, that the BMI which is impure. Atma is Nitya Shuddha Buddha. It is purest, untainted at all times. Like the scenes of the movie never taint the screen. So the superimposition will never affect the substratum. Substratum is only appearing as superimposition because of ignorance. So when ignorance goes, superimposition ends. Rope was, rope is, rope will be the same, no change. Same way, Atma is my nature as pure Sachidananda Swarup Atma. I have never become impure as consciousness. But yes, identified with the one equipment of BMI, I feel I am this, and all the conditions of this are my conditions. This is what is to be done separate, Vivek. That the condition of BMI is not my condition. I am different. All this applies every moment of one's life. As much as one is able to discriminate through the experiences of life, that BMI is going through it, not me. I am pure consciousness. That much Viveka, when we keep on doing, then this false notion that I am the Jiva, that just breaks. So the example of this water and impurity is where actually the impurities have to be removed. Then one will see water was, water is, water will be pure alone. Same way, what is the impurity here? Ignorance is the root cause. Vikshepa, wandering of the mind. And Mala, the 6 impurities, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Those are called Mala or Vikara, Shad Vikar. These are the impurities, 8 of them. 6 Vikars plus Vikshepa, wandering of the mind plus ignorance. These 8 make the Atma appear as though the Atma has become impure. And that infinite consciousness has become finite Jiva. But that is a superimposition, that is only an appearance. It has actually not become like that, which is why effort is not that finite has to become the infinite. Finite can never become the infinite. Finite can only recognize that I am not the finite, I am already the infinite. Like the wave cannot become the ocean. Wave cannot realize that I am one with the ocean till it knows that my nature is water. And as water, I have no boundaries. I am not this wave. So wave is not becoming, it's not accumulating more and more and more water to become like the ocean. No, it is already one with the ocean when it realizes its own nature. So the effort in our case is to understand the bondage is illusion. With sadhana, I have to eliminate this illusion with vivek proper. One should not say that bondage is illusion, so sadhana also is illusion, so there's no need to do anything. No, because the pain is real to me. That's the point. The pain that bondage is causing, the pain that Jiva Bhav is causing, if that is real to me, this question itself will not arise that if bondage is illusion, sadhana also is illusion, so why should I do sadhana? See, these are all misunderstandings that one goes through when we study Vedanta without proper systematic study, nor with proper guidance. One assumes many things on one's own. So if bondage is illusory, and some argument comes, bondage is illusory, so why should I even do any sadhana? But pain is real, no? At this moment, the world is appearing real and our pain is real. Fear, worry, sorrow, stress, anxiety, all that is so real to me. So sadhana is to quieten the mind. And with that quiet mind, when I contemplate, then I remove the root cause. So sadhana also has 3 levels. First level is to remove the mala. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Most of that, our time goes only in doing that much. That also one is not able to do consistently and overcome. So Karma Yoga helps to remove that part. Then we do Bhakti Yoga to remove the wandering of the mind. Because the wandering of the mind, the more the mind wanders, the more agitation, less is the peace. So then train the mind to be single-pointed, Upasana. Worship the Lord, surrender, invoke the bhava, bhakti, shraddha, all that. Then with such a prepared mind, one inquires into the self. If the earlier two are not done, if Karma Yoga and Upasana is not done, and one just tries to contemplate on the self, the mind will not abide in that. And we don't experience any transformation. We keep feeling, okay, this is some intellectual information, I am not the jiva, but this is practical world. In practical world, how will we live this? That is because the mind is not yet ready. So I have to study Vedanta, understand the knowledge on one hand, so that I have more and more clarity. But I have to also do sadhana of Karma Yoga and Upasana to purify the mind simultaneously. So this purification will remove the impurities of mala, vikshepa, both these. And then through samyak jnana, avarana, that is ignorance, that also goes. So I should always remember that. When we know that there is pain, when there is sorrow, when there is suffering, and I want to get out of that, then the solution of all this sadhana will apply. Somebody asked Guruji, Swami Tejomayanandji, that how to find the Guru. So Guruji replied saying that first and foremost, why do you need a Guru? Why do I need a doctor? When I am going through a disease, there is pain, there is discomfort. To remove that, the cause of it, I am not able to identify. So I go to the doctor and tell the doctor my symptoms. The doctor identifies based on that what is the cause, the root cause, and then find out this remedy, give the medicine, and then I take it and it gets out. Because there is pain, there is sorrow, there is suffering. There is a demand that I must get out of this. Samsara dukkha, the more and more one goes through and experiences and one wants to get out of this, then the person will actually put efforts to do the sadhana, because the Guru now has given the knowledge properly, that ignorance is the root cause, how to remove that, how to gain knowledge, mind must be pure, how to purify the mind, do Karma Yoga and Upasana, make the mind pure, make the mind single pointed. Then listen, reflect, meditate, realize the truth. So that is how Samyak Jnana arises. So here he gives that example of removing impurities from water. In the same way, mind when it becomes pure, Gurudev used to say, purest mind is Brahman. Why? Because purest mind is no mind. All the sense of Jiva Bhav is removed from it, because Jiva Bhav is the impurity. When this Jiva Bhav is removed from it, the mind realizes oneness with Brahman. This is what was said earlier. Even here it says, dosha bhave sfuta prabha. When the doshas are all removed, water is transparent, crystal clear. In the same way, the mind realizes oneness with the Atma as infinite nature of ours. One doesn't anymore think of oneself as finite jiva. So this is the beautiful example here. Now the next one. Asannivruttau tu sadatmana sfutam pratitire tasya bhavet pratichaha tato nirasa karaniya eva sadatmana sadvaham adivastunaha. So he says asat nivruttau tu. When this unreal ceases, asat nivruttau tu sadatmana sfutam. Atma always shines clearly. Pratitire tasya bhavet pratichaha. This pratiti that I am this jiva will cease when this ignorance goes away. Bhavet pratichaha. When I realize Atma clearly as my true self. Tato nirasa karaniya eva. Hence one should strive to remove this ignorance, to remove this jiva bhava. Tato nirasa. Nirasa means to remove. Nirasa karaniya. One should attempt to do that. In my book, there is Tato nirasa karaniya eva. And then one dash is there. Actually, it should be karaniya eva. That aki matra and the dash has to be deleted. If you have it, delete it. If it is not there, it's fine. Sadatmana sadvaham adivastunaha. From this self, this confusion that has risen, that self is appearing as the jiva, that must be separated. That has to be removed. And when that is removed, Atma shines clearly. So the examples already we have seen earlier. Atonayam paratma syad vijnanamaya shabda bhak vikaritva jadatvacha parichinnatva hetutaha drishyatvad vyabhicharitvat nanityo nitya ishyate. So now this concludes the section of negation of Vijnanamaya Kosha. So what does he say here? Ato means thus. So that means a summary. This whole section of Vijnanamaya Kosha. What is Vijnanamaya Kosha? How Atma illumines this Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then the reflection of consciousness is there. And then how, because of that, the Jiva Bhav is there. All that was explained. Now he concluded why this Vijnanamaya Kosha is just a sheath and that is not me. So all the reasons, the summary of all the reasons, like earlier Manomaya Kosha was negated with so many reasons. All those reasons are put together here now for Vijnanamaya Kosha. So Atonayam Paratma. Hence, this is not the Supreme Atma. This, who is this? This means the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Ayam means Vijnanamaya Kosha. Ato nayam paratma syad. Vijnanamaya shabda bhak. This which is known as Vijnanamaya Kosha, which has been spoken of so far, that is not Paratma. Why? Now the reasons start. First one, Vikaritvat, because it is constantly changing. Our thoughts, our values, our ideas, our ideals, all of them continuously keep on changing. The self is the illuminer of every change, every thought, every value that rises in the mind. Brahman is the cause, is the illuminer of that. Changeless. So one is, Atma is changeless, intellect goes on changing, Vikaritva. Then Jadatvacha. and by itself it is inert. Though it is made up of subtle 5 elements, and hence it has the capability of reflecting consciousness. Through the collective sattvic aspect of 5 elements, this subtle body is made. So the subtle body has the ability to reflect consciousness, and in that specifically Vijnanamaya Kosha has the self-awareness that I am so and so. So by itself it is inert, but it appears to be real, not real, it appears to be sentient because of reflection of consciousness. So the nature of, like the pot and the water and the sun example, the water is by itself has no light. It's only when the sun reflects, the water also appears to be bright. It has reflection, so it appears to have a lot of light in it. But by itself it doesn't have any light. In the same way, jadatvat, buddhi by itself cannot do anything. Not even a single thought will arise without the pure consciousness. That's the concept of reflection of consciousness we saw earlier. So vikaritvat, jadatvat, it is changing, it is inert, parichinnatva hetutaha, and it is limited. Atma is unlimited. Identified with this buddhi, it appears as limited. Why? Because buddhi is limited. And as long as I am identified with the buddhi, I also feel limited and incomplete. Whereas my nature is complete, pure, infinite, no limitations. Like the sun is so huge, but it appears as though it is bound by this small pot of water. So 3 points. One is it constantly changes. Second is it is inert. Third is it is limited. Atma is unlimited. So complete contradictions. Atma is unlimited. Parichinnatva hetutaha. Drishyatvat. It is seen. It is not that seer. Atma is the seer, buddhi is the seen. Meaning all the changes of the buddhi are not known by the buddhi, are known only by the self, the Atma. And that self remains untouched. Our buddhi goes on changing. So the seer in me is the pure consciousness. The thoughts are the seen. I am able to see. That's why, when two people are talking and one person is explaining, like let us say right now, this discourse is going on. And when you understand something, then sometimes they use the expression, oh, I see. Because one is intellectually able to grasp it, understand it. So we see the thoughts, we see the ideas. The seer is always different from the seen. The I who knows all these thoughts is completely different from all the thoughts that rise and fall. So drishyatvat. Then he says vyabhicharitvat. Vyabhichara here means it is not constantly present. It comes and goes. So in the waking state, it is there, fully active, Vijnanamaya Kosha. But in the dream, not active, deep sleep, not active. So only in one state it functions. Even in that one state, if we allow this buddhi, if we use the buddhi at all times to do this discrimination and be alert, then only it is functioning. Otherwise, it is used for very ordinary things. So it is not functioning fully. It is not even 0.5%, 1% of the potential of the buddhi one is using. But when I am constantly alert, constantly having this awareness that I am pure consciousness, I am not this BMI, this is the equipment, then this Vijnanamaya Kosha is functional properly in this state. One may say, but no, reflection of consciousness is always there. Jiva Bhav is there. Vijnanamaya Kosha is that. That is ordinary. Seeker will not think like that. Seeker will always think Vijnanamaya Kosha is the only kosha because of which I can end the bondage. And that is a speciality of only human being. No other creature has Vijnanamaya Kosha in the subtle way in which we have. So the person has to do this Vivek. Then the Vijnanamaya Kosha is active. So active Vijnanamaya Kosha only in one state. And even in that it is changing, it is inert. Drishyatvat, Vikaritvat, Mithya, Vyabhicharitvat, Anityo Nitya Uchyate, and Anityatvat. It gets negated actually. When one realizes the truth, this will get negated, so it will become unreal. Anityatvat. Meaning falsified. It becomes falsified. It does not exist. Like the snake disappears, like that this will also disappear. When the Atma is realized, this will disappear. Anityatvat. So these are all the reasons why one says that, okay, Vijnanamaya Kosha is also one sheath that is not me. See, this is the beauty of Vedanta, that all human achievements actually are credited to Vijnanamaya Kosha. Human beings' identification is with Vijnanamaya Kosha. Art, literature, dance, music, poetry, so many things have all been discovered because of the power of Vijnanamaya Kosha. So one wants to identify with that Vijnanamaya Kosha. And today we live in a knowledge-based era, in a era of innovation, etc. So it is all done by the buddhi. So one derives the entire sense of identity from the buddhi. And no doubt at the world, at the relative level, that has some relevance. But the sadhak must know, the seeker must know that this is only one kosha. If Vijnanamaya Kosha is so powerful, what will be the power of that Atma which is illumining it? If a limited, finite equipment can create so much of affluence and so much of innovation and discoveries and so many things, that which is actually illumining it is infinite. How much more power is that? So the great rishis, they use the Vijnanamaya Kosha to achieve many things in the world outside. Unparalleled are their knowledge and achievements. But they did not identify and limit themselves only to Vijnanamaya Kosha. A scientist, a doctor, an artist, a poet, or anybody, all are manifesting the power of Vijnanamaya Kosha. But the rishis, they identified with the Atma. So 4 koshas are negated. And remember, negation means the false perception that I am this has to go. I don't have to destroy it. I don't have to destroy the buddhi. I don't have to stop using the buddhi. I don't have to stop working in the world outside to use by using the buddhi. None of that I have to do. The false perception that I am this jiva, this finite entity, this intellect, that has to be removed. So right now we will stop here. Vijnanamaya Kosha is ended, the negation is ended here. Next month when we continue, we will do the negation of Anandamaya Kosha and take it forward from there. Any questions or anything to ask, please welcome.
Yeah, Namaste Swamiji. I understand from this that Vijnanamaya Kosha is the Upadhi, and the characteristics of the Upadhi are being projected upon Atma. Is this correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Then second thing, that student's question, he says if samsara has a beginning and an end, then moksha, this means that moksha will also have a beginning and an end. So this is not possible because moksha is nitya. The second part is...
No. Wait a minute. Question of student is not that samsara is beginning and end, so moksha is beginning and end. No. Question is, what is beginningless is endless. And if you say samsara is beginningless, then how will it end? That is the question.
Okay, so if samsara has no beginning, it will not have an end. This means moksha is not possible only.
Correct. That's the question.
Okay. So when we say samsara is anadi, Okay, then anadi cannot mean beginningless over here.
Anadi means beginningless, no? Adi means beginning. Anadi means beginningless.
Yeah, that is the normal translation of the word anadi. But when you refer it to samsara, anadi probably means whose beginning cannot be spoken about, because when you inquire into it, it disappears, like the rope and the snake. When you inquire into the nature of the snake, it just disappears.
Correct, but that's the solution. To inquire and it disappear, that's the solution. But the meaning of the word anadi there has to be beginningless only, no? What else can it mean?
Okay. I'll read it again. Thank you.
Because the beginning, the meaning of that word anaditvat there is only because it is having no, we cannot say from when did it begin. Because what was there before that? Ignorance, if it has a beginning, then what was there before ignorance? Either there has to be knowledge or there has to be nothingness. But neither of these are possible. If knowledge was there, ignorance cannot come. If nothing is there, from that ignorance cannot come. So it is beginningless. From that standpoint, that when we say beginning, it means time. And this is time came after this. Ignorance is the cause, beginning, ignorance is the cause, then comes the buddhi, then comes the time. So it is not possible to know what is the beginning of ignorance. Hence it is beginningless. That's the understanding of the word beginningless. But the word anadi will mean beginningless only.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we continue in May. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.